We're here to talk about today, folks. Hellraiser. That just came out on Hulu. Came out on October 7th, so a couple days ago.
Yep.
Directed by David Bruckner, who we spoke about when we talked about this trailer. We talked about the trailer a couple times, once actually, on YouTube. So if you're not following us on YouTube, please consider doing so. Subscribe and hit the notification bell for our videos. Sometimes we talk about stuff that doesn't appear on the weekly podcast. We joked about this. I don't remember when, but I know we joked about it. But Hellraiser is another one of these movies that makes me wonder if I'm a maniac or not. Because the whole point of it is it's supposed to be like disturbing and demented and twisted, and like it's supposed to evoke those sorts of like uncomfortable emotions.
Mm-hmm.
And I just don't find it to be very disturbing, like gross or scary or really anything like that. So I don't know, either I am a lunatic or maybe I just have like an extremely firm grip on reality. So that like,
I don't think the gore or anything like that was like disturbing. I think what's disturbing about Hellraiser is the Cenobites and their confusion with pain and pleasure. I think that's pretty disturbing.
Yeah, and that's going to be the bulk of what I wanted to talk about with this movie, because I originally intended to watch the original. You and I actually talked about it. I think all three of us did. Like, hey, maybe we'll watch it to prep. But it's been a long time since I've seen that movie. To be honest, it's not a movie that ever really stuck with me like it has for lots of its fans. Mm-hmm. In the horror movie pantheon, it's not one that I really like elevate to that iconic status we were just talking about. I mean, I know the character is iconic and the movie itself is in the horror genre. I don't know. It never really like gripped me that way. But I actually decided to not watch the original because I wanted to go into this one sort of with fresh eyes, kind of only remembering the basics of the original Hellraiser.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm kind of glad I did that, because this movie, I think, does two things simultaneously that you would think would sort of conflict with each other, but they don't in this movie. I think this movie did a good enough job of sort of being this is enough for people who haven't seen the original Hellraiser or maybe don't remember the original Hellraiser. I think it gets across.
There's enough exposition to get the lore.
Not even really lore stuff. It just the whole thing. It's like the whole package. It's sort of like, hey, this is what it does a good job of sort of presenting the vibes of the original one, but in a different way. And then I also thought,
I think so. Yeah.
And then I also thought it stood on its own in terms of clearly this was made for more modern audiences, and we'll get into some of that stuff, but so yeah, we got David Bruckner directing. We have a cast of people that I am not familiar with at all. Main character is Riley, played by Odessa Azion. We've got Colin, played by Adam Faison. I wonder if that's any relation to Donald Faison from Scrubs. Trevor, played by Drew Starkey. Couple of others here, but notably Jamie Clayton as the priest, or as fans have come to know them as Pinhead. And that was the one,
priest,
this is, what's that?
It's like a holy priest, right? Is that what it is?
Not really a holy priest, just the priest. That's the character's name, really.
Oh, okay.
The priest.
Got it.
Yeah, now there's nothing holy about this. Or is it? That's something to talk about. But
I mean, he is full of holes from having nails in him.
That is true. That is true. Pins this time, sewing needles, it looks like. Yeah, so in a landscape of just, perpetual remakes and reboots and sequels and stuff like that, I went into this movie assuming that it was going to be a reboot, and after watching it, I know a lot of people are calling it a reboot, but I don't really think it was a reboot, nor do I think it was a sequel. It just sort of, to me, seemed like another take on, because you got to remember the original's also based on that novella, Hellbound Heart.
Right.
So the original movie that came out in 1987 was just a loose adaptation of Hellbound Heart, and I think this was just another loose adaptation on a Hellbound Heart. So I I was glad that I didn't watch the original one because I don't really want to get caught up in like the comparisons between the original and this one. There's a few that I want to make, but I feel like, in order to accurately talk about this, it's not, it's never something that you should do is comparing it to an original because generally
the original's always usually better.
Yeah, generally they don't hold up.
For the most part, yeah.
So yeah, in this one, we've got our main character, Riley. And she's a recovering drug addict that, she's clearly struggling with her recovery. She's having some relapses and stuff. She's dating a pretty questionable guy whom her brother, who she lives with, doesn't like very much.
Trevor.
And yeah. And, we catch up to her a couple of years after this sort of intro in the beginning of the movie where we meet Voight, played by Goran Visnik. And he plays just this rich fucking guy who has, and he says
pleasure seeker.
He's a pleasure seeker, but
he's hosting orgies.
He's hosting orgies and fucking. He says it later in the movie that he has almost, he's been afforded everything that life could offer somebody, right?
Yeah,
like power. He's rich.
You'd have to think he's done all the things. Sex-wise, if he's looking for a higher level of pleasure. Yeah. So, and this is sort of getting into the separation of the original and the story Hellbound Heart. But our boy Voight, the ultimate pleasure for him is power, right? Like that's what he wants, and that's what he's seeking by playing around with this bot. Well, yeah, I mean they explicitly say it at the end of the movie. But, well, no, his first choice was sensation.
Yes, but
then he chose power afterwards.
Well, I think power was always his intent, and I think the priest sort of realized that at the end where they're like, "Oh, it is not," whatever they say. It's like it's power you seek.
We were wrong,
and we could give you like our power is derived from whatever she says. So here, take a little bit of our power and become a fucking Cenobite. Basically.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's pretty much the story. You catch up. I mean, really, that's it. You catch up. Yeah. You catch up later on to Riley. She's doing some stuff in a warehouse, and she finds the box.
She's doing some thieving.
Yeah, she's doing a little thieving.
Yeah.
And looking for drugs or some
with Trevor.
Some shit with Trevor. She finds the box. The box stabs somebody, and that becomes the blood sacrifice. Cenobites come. It's her brother. Brother disappears.
Why would her brother just grab the box without looking at what he's grabbing?
Yeah, who knows?
Who the hell does that? What if it was a fucking dirty needle?
It was a dirty needle, technically. To be fair, his sister was passed out in a fucking.
That's true.
Like where was they? In a park, playground or something?
On a merry-go-round.
So I mean, in that situation, you're probably just like, oh fuck. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much
nasty cut too. That thing.
Oh yeah, that thing doesn't fuck around.
That thing does not fuck around.
That's pretty much your story. The rest of the movie, Riley teams up with the group of friends to track down her missing brother, who clearly got sucked into Cenobite land, and is unfortunately no longer with us.
Get ripped up.
No longer with us.
Yeah. But honestly, so this is a 2-hour runtime, which.
For no reason.
Yeah, it's a little bit long. A little long.
Didn't need to be 2 hours.
Did not need to be 2 hours. Could have easily done this in an hour and a half, and I think it would have been a much tighter movie for it. I honestly, the first half of this movie I found pretty fucking boring, to be honest, and uninteresting.
Hell yeah. I mean, the first two victims were like, what? That was so stupid. One's your brother getting accidentally stabbed, and the next one is the lady getting accidentally stabbed.
Yeah, a lot of accidental stabbing.
Everybody's just getting accidentally stabbed. All right, that's cool.
Yeah. I had a hard time focusing on the movie for the first half of it. I was fucking looking at my phone and on my other monitor, like doing stuff. Like I had a little bit of a hard time. And that was mainly because I didn't think the characters are very compelling in this movie.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely no real attachment to any of these characters.
Completely didn't care. They served as fucking just Cenobite fodder. Like
honestly, more interested in the Cenobites and what they had going on than these characters.
You wait for them to just fuck up so we can get more Cenobite shit.
Yeah, more Cenobite. Yeah.
How is this person gonna get torn apart? Let's just get
Did you guys know right away that Trevor would betray Riley?
Oh,
I just thought he was a bitch. I didn't know he was a snake.
$1,000,000%.
I didn't know.
Yeah.
I just thought he was a little bitch.
He is a little bitch, so you were part
of it.
He
is.
When the brother said, I don't like him, I was like, yep.
Something over this guy.
Yep.
Yeah.
And, talking about the characters, the only real drama here in this movie is that Riley's brother doesn't really like the boyfriend, Trevor.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And all they do is just yell about it. Like, that's really the only drama of the movie. Like, get out of my house. I'm sick of worrying about you.
It's like the only real acting.
Yeah. And, that's one of the reasons why I say this felt like it was tailored to modern audiences is because of that. This felt, to me, like a teen slasher movie, almost.
Oh, yeah. It felt just like another slasher to me. Whereas the original didn't.
Yeah.
I think that was one of the good things about the original.
100%. These characters are, they're all young and annoying, and the actors really aren't very good in this movie, so it had that like slasher movie feel where they're making dumb decisions. They're dropping the the only thing that they could use to defeat the monsters while they're just running and like, doing all the dumb slasher movie tropes.
Right. And I thought the Cenobites were like immune to that. Like I didn't think she would be able to just stab one of them and then because do they even have blood?
Well, that brings me to one of the things that I actually liked about this movie.
Okay.
Is that it did up the lore and the functionality of the box, which I did find to be somewhat interesting.
I see what you mean, yeah.
And there's a little bit of that in the original series. But this one, to me at least, really established the fact that, like, because, Pinhead takes center stage in the originals.
Right.
And takes center stage, not in the original film, but in the original series overall, it becomes about Pinhead and like their demons and all this stuff. Where this was just, there's a hierarchy to these Cenobites. The priest isn't really the leader. The leader is the ruler of hell, which this movie referred to as Leviathan.
Right. The big ass thing that came down. Yeah.
So I thought that was really cool. There was a little bit more of lore stuff in this. The main problem with this was, like, I think the way the characters were written. In slasher films, they're typically just there to be killed and give exposition, and these characters did all the same stuff, right? Like, they're the ones figuring out, like, oh shit, this rich dude was trying to do this, and there's stages to the box and its configuration, blah 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 blah, and then like just they start getting picked off one by one. I thought that they could have been way stronger given the story that they were telling. But what we got wasn't really very compelling and could have been way tighter with a shorter runtime. But that's sort of the one area where I wanted to compare it to the original. So in the Hellbound Heart, which I know you read a little bit about, the first movie does a pretty good job of adapting it loosely, and it's about sort of pushing the boundaries of pleasure.
Right.
And the character in the original, Frank, is like a sex fiend. This dude can't stop fucking jerking off, and he's just constantly trying to push and push and push.
Right.
And that played into the visualization that we got of the Cenobites in the original, that they're wearing this like leather sort of S&M bondage types of things. And you got to remember, back in the 80s when this movie came out, 1987, that stuff was very like what's the word I'm looking for? Taboo, yeah.
Yeah.
Sex in general was very taboo back then, but fucking S&M and fucking sadomasochism and all that shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was during the time of the it was the board game Dungeons and Dragons. They had the Dungeons and Dragons.
It's like Stranger Things.
Yep.
Yeah.
The
Ouija board stuff.
The Satanist fucking fear mongering and all this stuff that took place in the 80s.
Right.
So, at the time, that was very taboo, and it was shocking to see in a movie. Obviously, we're a bit more of a progressive culture now when it comes to sexuality. So that stuff isn't as taboo as it once was. I mean, sadomasochism, like, I don't know, sticking fingers in fucking penis holes is not my jam. But we as a society have learned to sort of not really, kink shame, if you will. And I really liked that the modernization of the story was about drug use and addiction, because addiction is a pleasure-seeking thing in and of itself, right?
Right.
I have my experience with addicts in my life, and that's just what addiction is. It's a disease that you're seeking to escape from whatever your reality might be, whether you have depression or anxiety or heartbreak. You're using drugs and alcohol to escape from that and seek that momentary pleasure that the drug gives you. So I thought that was pretty cool. And I would have liked to see that get fleshed out a little bit more, to be honest with you. Like, I thought they did have a compelling story to tell, like, with addiction and, like, all the stuff that brings. Like, they touched on it, like, for 2 fucking seconds in that little argument that they had. But, like,
yeah,
I don't know. I just feel like the characters could have been a way more compelling. We would have actually given a shit about Riley and her brother and their relationship had that addiction narrative sort of been fleshed out a little bit more, because addiction is a very real disease that's largely untreated, at least in this country. So yeah, that was sort of my thing with the story. That being said, though, in similar fashion, I did like the design of the Cenobites versus the original film.
Practical effects were dope, and the makeup was too.
What do you think, Dusty? You gave me a little face there.
They were all right. I liked some of the original stuff from the original movie, like that.
So you like the leather more than
the leather exposed. And stuff? Yeah, I mean, it was. Yeah, I guess.
I like how their skin was more of their outfit. In this,
yeah,
right.
The different designs.
It's like they origamied their skin, like they're making hats out of it and shit, and like they're flayed.
Their designs were very interesting. Yeah,
it was crazy. Yeah,
I thought that was pretty cool. I also think, we said the actors weren't really very good, but I did think the actors did a really good job of portraying pain. Like when they were being like tortured and shit, like I actually really felt that shit, especially the scene where the fucking chick gets the fucking pin through her throat and they have that shot from inside her throat. That had me like, oh, fuck.
Yeah, that was definitely one of those cringy moments.
Even at the end where our boy Vought got his fucking skin just peeled up. Like, I was like, oh my God.
That shit was gruesome.
Yeah.
Interesting to see that.
Yeah. So
him getting turned into the Cenobite.
Yeah. So that stuff, I think that worked. And, the last character I think to talk about, the, character of the hour, so to speak, is Jamie Clayton's portrayal of Pinhead, or the priest. And I thought she did a phenomenal job.
I think so too. Crazy transformation too. Like if you look at her.
Oh yeah, for sure. In the original Hellraiser, we talked about this a little bit when we did the trailer, but Pinhead back then is tall and got that deep voice thanks to what's his name? Come on, Doug Bradley. Fucking hell. Doug Bradley was way more of a scary presence, I guess you will. Way more intimidating. And
yeah, I can see that.
I think Jamie Clayton's portrayal of it made the character there was like a level of seduction to the character in this one. Whereas like
just adding to that layer of
like Doug Bradley was like imposing, but Jamie Clayton's portrayal, like with those eyes and like it just, there was like a level of, hey, come give this a chance, No, for real, like like,
your blood or somebody else's, you choose.
Like, hey, what are you
getting that blood though?
It's like what are you selling me? How good is this gonna feel? And I think that's thanks in part to her portrayal. So I really enjoyed that. And, of course, it's from what I understand, again, I've never read Hellbound Heart, and I'm not a huge Hellraiser fan, but from what I've read on the internet from fans, like, this portrayal is more in line with the portrayal of the priest in Hellbound Heart, a more androgynous, genderless type of creature. So I think that was pretty cool. I liked her portrayal of it.
I would have kind of liked to see how Riley's brother came back and how twisted it would have been. I think that was maybe a missed opportunity for them to show some more twisted shit, I guess.
I actually disagree because...
Well, I think she realized that he would have come back in such a way, and she didn't want that, and that's why she chose what she chose.
Yeah, she realized...
And what she chose, the gift she received was not that bad at all. I mean, I live with consequences of my actions every day, and I'll just be chilling.
Well,
so,
that's the thing, though. That wasn't her gift. That was her choice. She declined the gift because she knew
her gift was lament, right? Which was one of the...
Well, technically, but that's because she had to live with her own regret, basically.
Right.
So the reason that I disagree a little bit was because I think this is like the centerpiece of the whole story that they're trying to tell with the diction and stuff like that. As we said, addicts push and push, and they try to hold on to that feeling that their drug of choice provides. And then once the drug wears off, you're once again left with that regret or fucking heartbreak or pain or whatever you're feeling mentally and emotionally that you're suffering from, and life is hard. So her choice at the end to not accept the priest's gift, which would have been a permanent escape from those things that she turns to drugs to escape from, it's her refusal to accept the gift is, I think, symbolic for staying clean from drugs and facing your problems without the use of drugs or any other abuses to temporarily forget about them. Right. Maybe I'm thinking a little too deep into it, but that's sort of the way I took it.
No, that makes sense. No,
and I think she realized. I think she realized that the gift is always some sick and twisted fucking thing that you wouldn't want in the long run.
Yeah.
Which, also fucking, what's his name found out too? Voight. Like, he was given this gift, this torture device that was like stringing up his fucking...
That one was pretty...
twisting his nerves.
His nerves and shit.
Yeah, that was pretty cringy too.
And he's just in constant pain, but he's like, I've had enough of this. Like, that was his whole plot in the long run, was to demand a meeting with Leviathan to be like, fucking free me of this. And they freed him, all right? They freed him.
Yeah. Do you think he trying to go to the hospital with that shit all up in his chest?
I don't know. Nah, I think he just locked himself in his weird fortress for years and years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That shit, thinking about it, ugh. It's like when you imagine a paper cut. That's what it feels like. It's like, oh, God.
Like the worst paper cut ever.
Yeah. I mean, it's just that same feeling in your brain. It's like, I don't know how to describe it.
It was okay. I'm like you. The first half was unnecessary. The second half had some interesting stuff in it, but there were other times where I was disinterested as well. So it wasn't great, but I haven't seen the original in like 25 years.
Yeah.
And it's because not really that interesting to me. This one wasn't as well. The characters did all right. I don't know. They could have been better, of course, but the writing, I don't know. It was okay. Didn't hate it. Didn't love it.
This was very much carried by those Cenobites. And
the grand reveal of the Leviathan.
Yeah, the Leviathan just being down, like the deadlights or whatever the fuck it was.
Yeah.
I thought the Cenobites were really cool, being, the central focus of the movie. I thought the kills were like interesting enough, and I did feel like that like torture. And it was there's the stuff that their hijinks were visually appealing and fun to watch. And
would you recommend it?
Yeah, I would. If somebody
asked me, I would be like, do you like Hellraiser? Then you'll probably enjoy it. Otherwise, it's just
right.
That would be my thing. If somebody came to me and was like, hey, is there a good horror movie that I could watch, like with somebody, like, for a movie night or like a date night or something, I'd be like, yeah, turn on the new Hellraiser movie. It's okay. But yeah, this is, if you're like, I think this is primarily for people who are like already Hellraiser fans and just want to like check this out and see where the franchise goes.
Yeah.
That being said, I think Jamie Clayton is a great person to have taken on the mantle of Pinhead to bring it forward if they decide to do sequels and stuff like that. And I will say this is miles better than any of the Abomination sequels that Hellraiser has gotten over the years, with the exception of the second one. The second one's pretty good.
Yeah, the first 2 or 3 were all right, and then it really just went.
It goes off the rails. They're like demons from hell and like all this shit. The one thing I didn't get out of this movie was except from their actual like verbal exposition, there was no real indication that they couldn't distinguish pain from pleasure. They all seemed pretty evil and malevolent, like they were out to do bad stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And that
they
was
were just
my
assholes. That felt like, especially with the choices or the gifts, quote unquote gifts they were giving people.
Yeah, that was my only real thing, is that the indication of pain versus pleasure wasn't really there for them. At least in this portrayal of it, it just seemed like they were just like looking to like mutilate people for whatever reason.
Yeah, because you would think they would start off like, start us off.
Yeah.
With some like sexual shit where it's like, oh, okay. Oh, and then it switched. But no, it just went straight into chains in the arms, ripping everything apart.
Yeah.
There was no build up or anything.
But this has a 6.2 on IMDb. I'm kind of right there. I'd give it like a 6, I would say. What about you guys?
All right, 5.
Same. Give it a 5.
All right.
I'm interested. We're not all like hardcore Hellraiser fans. I'm interested to see what the Hellraiser fans have to say about this, like the diehards.
Yeah, I scanned some reviews, and some of the sentiment I got is definitely not the best, but definitely also not the worst.
Right. Yeah. It's just kind of
somewhere in the middle
of the road. But that that's not to say that that's a bad thing, right? Like that's enough to generate maybe a sequel or two that could work out to be better with more fleshed out stuff. I really just wish I really wish the characters were a little bit more fleshed out and less of just like things to get torn apart.
Yeah,
that would have been my wish for this, but
I agree.
But yeah,
gifts can't be ungiven.
Gifts cannot be ungiven. That is true. Let us know what you guys think of this Hellraiser reimagining, reboot, sequel, whatever you want to call it. If you're not, please consider subscribing to us on YouTube and click the notification bell to be notified for future videos. You can also follow us on any of the major podcast platforms where we release new episodes each week. And check out our website, harshlanguage.tv, where we have all that stuff combined into one nice, neat little package for you. But otherwise, thank you for watching and or listening, and we'll catch you in the next one.
See ya.
Hasta.